Hello people of the internet, welcome back. This video is just going to be like a chatty, chill video, and it's just about how I got diagnosed as autistic as a lower support needs girl in 2010, because that was quite unusual at the time, but now it's becoming a lot more common, and I just thought I'd share my experiences in case people are interested. Also because a lot of people seem to just assume that people who seem normal, who say they're autistic, just diagnose themselves off TikTok or something, when in my case that's like not the case, and it just really annoys me when people just make these assumptions because they're wrong. Just a quick disclaimer. I was 10 years old at the time. This was 13 years ago. So obviously my memories are not going to be completely like perfect. Hopefully I'll get my mum to watch this and she can leave a comment and I'll pin it to the top so she can correct things if I've got anything a bit wrong. Because obviously this is like from the perspective of a literal child and me remembering my childhood memories from 13 years ago. And I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. Just be aware some things might seem a bit mixed up, but that's just how I remember it. So, and it's also things that my parents have told me over the years. So the things that I wouldn't have known, that's because my parents have told me later. So, first thing, anyone ever talked about me maybe being autistic was when I was in year 2 in school, and that would be age 7, because sometimes different school systems have different things, but in the UK where I live, year 2 is like 7 years old. So my teacher told my parents that they thought I was on the autism spectrum, and my parents, I think from what my parents have told me, they were just a bit offended because they didn't have a lot of awareness about autism, because again it was 2007, like no one had that much awareness, and I don't live in a particularly like super progressive place or anything, so they were just a bit offended, because obviously their experiences of what autism were quite negative, so they just kind of ignored it. I had no idea at this point that anything had ever been said, because again I was 7 and no one was telling me this. So that's kind of all that happened, but that was kind of the point where the seed was planted in my parents' heads, where they kind of started to like think maybe that is a possibility. So a few years later, I'm not sure how old I was when this was, I don't remember this at all. This is just from what my parents have told me. But I'm from quite a big like extended family. I only have 2 siblings, but my mum is one of like 6 kids, and I have tons of cousins and stuff. So apparently some of my cousins were visiting our house, and they had decided to put together a play with them and me and my brother, and the concept of the play, from what I've been told, was my cousins, who were a bit older, were like the mums, and my little brother was going out to buy cigarettes for them. I don't know what this is about. My mum can add greater detail in the description if she feels so inclined, if she remembers what this play was about. I have no recollection of this. And apparently, when the play was being performed to my mum and my auntie, who is a nurse. My mum's not a nurse, my auntie's a nurse. Apparently, I was kind of really not understanding the concept of it, and was just kind of, I don't know, dancing around in the background or something. So that's the point where I think my mum my auntie kind of realised, like, wait, this isn't normal. They're like, according to my mum, I think they just kind of looked at each other and were like, that's not normal. Yeah. So I have no recollection of this, but I think that's the point where my mum realised, like, oh no, there is something not quite right here. Yeah, so I have no recollection of that, so I don't know how old I was at this point. Somewhere between 7 and 10. And so then I think I left primary school. There was a weird thing, like the school system in my area changed, and they changed like the way that the school system worked. So basically, I ended up going from a little primary school to a huge secondary school, like massive school, like over 1,000 kids, and I was 9 years old. So I went to like a big secondary school when I was 9, which typically people go to secondary school when they're 11. Yeah, they go to secondary school when they're 11, but because the school system changed, I ended up going when I was 9, and I had a very difficult time with that. I was bullied quite badly. I was just terrified the entire time. I was terrified of the older kids. I was terrified of the teachers. I was terrified of the kids in the same year as me. And I was the youngest in the school for like 3 years because of the school system change. So yeah, I was not having a good time at school at this point. I was doing well academically, not exceptionally, but I was doing well academically. But I was really struggling socially. It was not good. So at some point around this time, my parents went through the process. They went to the GP, who then referred them for an autism assessment. Apparently, from what my mum told me, the GP was actually really good about it, and like completely believed my parents and was all for getting me an assessment. So yeah, that's because I think sometimes people have problems where their GP won't refer them, but I, according to my parents, never had this issue. I don't remember this at all. So eventually I got an assessment. I remember the assessment, but I had no idea why I was there. The reason I thought I was there, which, oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing that I actually thought this, but I did. I thought the reason I was there was because I didn't like school and I really didn't want to be in school. I thought they were checking to see if I was already smart enough to like finish school and not have to go to school anymore, which is why I thought I was there. That's not why. Yeah, but that's genuinely what I thought. So they do all these tests on you, and I think how it worked was I was on my own in a room with these like assessors, and then my parents were in like another room watching me on cameras. I think that's how it worked. Obviously, I didn't know they were watching me. I was just doing my thing, trying to prove that I was smart enough to finish school at the age of 10. Yeah, I remember them giving me things, and like they were like, okay, here's a toy horse and a toy like man, like little model toys, and they're like, play with them, make a story with them. I'm like, and I was just kind of like, this is the man goes here and the horse goes here. Yeah, I can't. And then they were making me do like putting together like shapes and stuff. And I remember one that was like pattern recognition. Turns out, for some reason, I have an incredibly abnormally good pattern recognition ability. You know, it's like a thing, like autistic people have superpowers. Apparently I have one, but it's entirely useless. But yeah, there's this pattern recognition book, and you had to like pick which pattern goes so it was like a box with like kind of patterns in, and then you'd have to pick the one that there was a gap in the pattern. You had to pick the like one that fills in the gap. And so they started out with the like children level one, and I'd go through and like pick all the patterns, and I got to the end of the like children's level one, and they had to go and get like the adult books out to like get it to the, because I could do all of them. I think I got to the like I don't know, I got way above what I was expected to get. Unfortunately, that didn't apply to everything. So I thought I was doing really well on my proving I'm smart enough to finish school. So I'm there like, yeah, like this is going so well. I'm not gonna have to go back to school. So yeah, this assessment thing, they do that, and yeah, and I think they asked my parents like questions and stuff about me as well. And so at the end of all of this, they diagnosed me with Asperger's syndrome at the time. So back in 2010, there were a group of autism spectrum disorders. There were like Asperger's syndrome, classical autistic disorder or something, one that's like early childhood regression autism, something like that. PDD, NOS is another one. Yeah, so there were like a few different like disorders. So one of them was Asperger's syndrome, and that's the one I was diagnosed with. But in 2013, they changed it and they put them all into one disorder as autism spectrum disorder. So yeah, technically I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, but that diagnosis has been revised to autism spectrum disorder. But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean they got it wrong the first time or anything. It's just like they changed the system. Yeah, so then they told my parents that I had this. I can't remember being told when I was told about this. My parents didn't hide it from me or anything, but like I don't really remember being told about this. I don't think I really knew what it was. But yeah, my parents, so then they then knew about it, and I think I was diagnosed with anxiety at the same time. They thought I had like an anxiety disorder, which I did, because I hated school so much. And I think I remember going to a doctor's appointment where they discussed trying to put me on medication for anxiety, but then I think the doctor told my mum that I should move school. They just said like, no, Nell needs to move school. And I think they said that the anxiety medication has like a lot of side effects, and my mum was just like, no. So they moved school, and I actually, after I moved school, I moved in year 7, so this was like the normal time. I had 2 years at that school that I didn't like. Then I moved school in year 7. So a lot of people moved to that school that year that were the same age as me. So it was a completely new like year group and everything. And I got on quite well there, actually. Like that school helped me so much. And yeah, it was actually really good for me there. It was a mainstream school, just in case people were wondering. It was mainstream, but it had a really good special educational needs department. And I had classes. I had, in my other school after I was diagnosed, they put me in classes. So this, about a year, I got diagnosed in the summer between year 5 and 6, I think. Then in year 6, so I technically had support in school in year 6, but it wasn't that good. I remember there was like some group that I was in there. It was like called Only Girls Allowed or something. It was for girls that were autistic, and there were a few in the school. I think there were about 3 that I was there with. And yeah, it was kind of classes. And then in the other school, then I moved school, and in the new school I was put in like weekly social skills classes with a group of about, I don't know, 5 people. And all my break times and lunch times I could spend in I could spend in the inclusion department that was it was like a special department, like a safe zone for kids that needed it. And there was a girl in my year who is still my really good friend to this day. And so we went through all of high school together from year 11, from age 11, year 7 to the end of sixth form, year 13. We were in school together. And yeah, she was in the inclusion department as well. She wasn't autistic. She has albinism and was kind of low vision, partially sighted. And yeah, so we're really good friends. And yeah, so I had weekly social skills classes. The classes were obviously quite of their time. Like back then, like there wasn't much. There was less of this kind of, there was no neurodiversity movement. It was more like we're going to teach you how to act normal. A lot of, I don't know, there were a lot of things that kind of, I don't think really helped me that much, but the actual like exercises, I'm not sure how much they helped me, but the spending time with other people who struggle socially was really good for me, I think. It was a lot of like showing pictures of people's facial expressions, and then you had to identify it. But they were so like exaggerated. It's like it'd be a facial expression like, and it's like, oh, they're shocked. I have never once in my life seen anyone who's shocked go like that. I've never seen that before. They're like happy. It's like no one does that. It's way more subtle in real life, so I can identify these photos. But whether that's actually helped me in real life, not quite sure. But the actual spending time with people who had like similar difficulties to me was very good for me. And my friend, I don't want to like share her name on here because like, you know, she might not want that. But yeah, she's a really good friend, and that was kind of the first time I had like a really consistent long friendship. I did have a couple of friends in primary school, but a lot of them moved away. Like all my friends from primary school moved away before I went to secondary school. I remember I went to secondary school when I was 9. My kind of best childhood friend, she moved to Saudi Arabia for like her parents' work. She's now back in the UK, but like she was away in Saudi Arabia for quite a long time. And another friend moved to Scotland. She still lives in Scotland. And another friend, I think she still lives she went to a different school. And yeah, so I did a lot of social skills classes in school. And then I finished school. I did very well in my GCSEs and A-levels, and I was not horribly bullied in secondary school, which I think is quite unusual for girls with autism. I have experienced being horribly bullied in school, but I didn't experience that. Also, because I was doing this, it was called they changed the school building. So it used to be called the inclusion room, and then they changed it to the Oasis, because they decided to give all the school areas like fancy sounding names. But it was the special educational needs department, and you could like go, and because I always got into school really early, I got to learn touch typing. Because I was always so early, they put me on like touch typing courses online. So I learned how to touch type really well from when I was quite young, which is a skill that I would not have gained otherwise. I don't know why they don't teach it in school. But yeah, so I'm a good touch typer, and yeah, I learned a lot of things from that school, and it was really positive. Yeah, so that's kind of my story. I'm now at university. I had a few years kind of out, and now I'm back at university. Also, 3 years ago, in case this is the first video you've seen of me, about 3 years ago, I lost my hearing quite suddenly. So I'm now profoundly deaf, and I use a cochlear implant, and I'm at university. I still have a lot of support in university. And yeah, I'm doing really well. Yeah, so that's kind of my life story and how I got diagnosed with autism at the age of 10 in 2010 as a lower support needs girl. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If anyone else has like similar experiences to me or like a completely different experience, please let me know in the comments. I always find it so interesting to hear like other people's backgrounds and things. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!